Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll, please.
Yes. Chairman Keller is absent excused. Member Bernstein is absent excused. Member Millen.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Williams.
Present.
Member Wunderlich.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And so, beginning with our consent agenda, we have the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on October 9th, 2018. We will now take up the consent agenda, which can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chairman, I second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Thank you. We do not have any old business, and so we're going to go to new business, and I will note that there will be a change in our agenda. We're going to move and proceed with item D, which is listed on the agenda, Ocoee Landings Comprehensive Plan Amendment. In the interest of those who are here concerning that matter, we thought we would go ahead and take that up. So this is a substantial amendment to the PUD. I would like to introduce City Planner Rummer. If you would please proceed.
Okay, thanks. For the record, Mike Rimmer, City Planner. The item before you tonight is a substantial amendment to the Plan Unit Development Plan for Ocoee Landings. Plan Unit developments are it's a zoning district where you create your own project. And with regards to Ocoee Landings, that was approved back in 2015 and subdivision plans in 2016, and it's presently under construction right now under site development. The Plan Unit development consisted of, this is Silver Star Road. Clark Road would be to the west. You have a public shopping center just west of here. A little background, the Ocoee Landings PUD consists of commercial lots on the west side and then 50 single-family lot subdivision as part of this sort of mixed use. There's a pedestrian access so you can walk through a gate here and shop and go to Publix. Initially, the Plan Unit development, the project was brought forward by a developer who was getting the lands entitled for this use. And for the residential portion of this development, which has 50-foot wide lots by 110, they had a rear setback of 20 feet was approved with the PUD. As the developer was coming through with this project, he had a contract for purchase by a home builder, and upon the plan and the PUD, and then we followed up with the preliminary and final subdivision plan. After those approvals, the contract with the home builder fell through. He has since sold the residential portion to another home builder, K. Hovnanian Homes. So they are coming forward as the applicant. They own this portion of the Ocoee Landing PUD. They own the subdivision, and they are coming forward to request changing the rear setback of the main structure from 20 foot to 10 feet. We have a representative from K. Hovnanian that is here that can discuss more of the reason for the request. Want to provide some, I put a slide, and did I save it? Which one is it on? Let me use this one. Go back to the aerial. Let me see. Didn't have the aerial on this one. There it is, the aerial. It showed up better on the computer, and on the TV screen it's a little bit better, but it's a little bit hard to read. I probably should use a different aerial. Just to give a little more background, there's two subdivisions on the north side of this development. Of course, you have Silver Star Road here. You have Willows on the lake. Adjacent to this portion of the subdivision is a retention pond, not a public road, it's gated, a road and a cul-de-sac. And then there is a separate subdivision over here, and the name's escaping me right now, that has a stormwater pond and 6 residential homes that are existing. It's part of the PUD plan and is a part of the Ohio Bay subdivision. As part of the PUD approval, there was, in order to, the original parcel of land had this outline. There was a paper right-of-way in here that was never constructed. The applicant said, we will vacate that right-of-way, and this development would use the 30-foot of that vacated right-of-way, and then the other 30-foot would go to these lots on the rear. So as a part of the subdivision approval process and the follow-up vacation of the right-of-way, those lots did receive some 30-foot of additional land. So you do have, as I said, a retention pond, you have 6 single-family homes, a cul-de-sac, and then as you go along here, a cul-de-sac, a stormwater pond, and then the rest of this commercial, it does not back up to any single-family homes. So that's the lay of the land. Additionally, there was a vacation of a road over here that took place, but the full vacation didn't go to the developer. Half went to the developer, half went to DOT, and DOT didn't want to didn't want to give up that land. So there's a modification from the cul-de-sac that was approved is shifting over just a little bit. So again, the purpose of this is we're modifying the PUD. If the project was going from 50 lots to 49, there's no reason to amend the development, PUD. You have a minor amendment and a major. A minor might be they're going to go, it doesn't have any influence or any perceived negative actions on a property adjacent. If you're changing access points, you're changing the zoning, that's a substantial amendment to the PUD. So that's what the applicant's coming through. Because it's a substantial change, you're not starting over, but you're amending it such that it goes through a public hearing process in order to get that change approved via an ordinance. So this is the first step in going forward with that. We have the applicant here from K. Hovnanian Homes that can talk about who they are and what the need is, what they see in this community. And we also have a representative from the engineer that can answer any questions. And with that, I'll let the applicant, K. Hovnanian Homes, discuss the difference with the 10-foot and 20-foot. And I'm here to answer questions. And I'll also pull up the property appraiser so we have a little bit better aerial that we can view. So,
Okay, does anyone have
so
questions
you can ask me questions first.
for
and then,
staff
yes,
first?
so.
Mr. Romer, what amount of setback did the homeowners already enjoy initially?
The homeowners on the Ohio subdivision,
Yes.
it would be, they're a traditional zoning, so 25 or 30 foot. I gotta look to see what specific R1A or R1AA they are. But they would have traditionally a 25-foot rear setback or a 30-foot rear setback.
And this would bring it down to 10?
And now I say that that's for the main structure of the home.
Yes.
And if you do an addition, like a room addition, that would also have to meet that. But you could do an open porch, you could do a shed, you could have other improvements, accessory improvements to the property that are closer to the rear than the 25-foot. That's the main structure.
Okay. And this would change that from 25 down to a 10-foot?
No, it would not.
I
It would not do
misunderstood.
anything to the existing homeowners' setbacks. This would, the setbacks for the new subdivision, they had an approved 20-foot. They're asking to reduce that from 20 to 10.
I see.
So you go from the rear property line 10 feet, and that's where the rear structure can end.
Therefore, the new construction will be potentially much closer
Yes.
than, oh, thank you very much.
Okay, if we can hear from the applicant. Please state your name for the record and name and address for the record, please.
Kitty table. Brian Gaines, I'm with Dave Smith Engineering, 12301 Lake Underhill Road, Orlando, Florida. I'm here representing KHOV. We were the engineer for the original developer, and then obviously now KHOV has purchased the property, and they requested this modification.
Oh, no, I just kind of took a.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you might have had a question. So, no. So, the original project was developed without the specific product type that KHOVanian sells. They have lots, and I'll let Mr. Trussell go through the details on that, but they have a product type, and there's pictures in I think the last sheet of that package. There's images of the three product types contemplated for the site. They range from a square footage of about 1,800 square foot up to 3,700. Yeah. So so that's the size of them. The property, we're requesting the rear yard setback for all the lots in the site. The lots on the south side of the road abut the commercial property or retention. The lots on as Mr. Rummer said, the lots on the northeast side of the site abut retention or open space cul-de-sac. And the lots on the last like 10 or 11 lots on the eastern end that abut the, what was it, Joho Bay, I'm sorry. I wrote that one. And so, so we're requesting that the reduced rear yard setback to accommodate the product type that KHOVanian provides to their clientele.
Can you explain why this particular product needs the additional, requires a reduction in the setback?
Yeah, I'm going to have to punt to the builder on this one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Good evening, Guy Trussell, KHOVanian Homes, 2301 Lucian Way, Maitland Boulevard, Maitland, Florida. As far as as they said, it was originally designed, I guess, for someone else, and the pad depth for the homes themselves weren't deep enough, and that's why we're needing additional depth to fit our product line on there. We only have like 1 or 2 homes that will fit on there with the setbacks they are today, but with an additional 5 to 10 foot, we can open up our full product line.
So let me understand, let me restate it to see if I'm understanding. Basically, the product line that you're producing is larger than what would have been allowed.
Yes, ma'am.
It requires more,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, the site, as Mr. Rummer said, it's a mixed-use development with residential and commercial properties, and so the density is a little bit higher. Typically, for the mixed-use type product or type development, you want to have like a little bit higher density to mix with the commercial uses, and this allows that density.
Did I correctly understand you to say that you had 1 or 2 floor plans that do fit on it without the reduction?
Yeah. The smaller homes.
I understand, but there are multiple floor plans of that available and
Well,
would fit on them.
There's only a couple that will fit.
Okay. And we're talking about, what, did you say 6 lots that would be affected by this?
I'm trying to understand.
6 lots of the existing
If you
home.
look on this plan, lot 14 to 25, which is the northeast side of the property, abuts the Joho Bay subdivision, and is the closest to the residential. Lots 1 through 13 abut retention or open space or road on that side, and then lots 26 through 50 abut retention pond, and the western end, the western 6 lots or so abut lot 4 of commercial, which fronts Silver Star.
So it's lots, to follow up on your question, is that okay?
Please.
So lots 14 through 25, those are the ones that you're requesting.
All of them, they're requesting the modification to setback from 20 to 10, all.
Oh, all 50 lots?
Yeah, the opportunity to be there for all 50, yes.
Oh, okay.
And so let me add another point with regards to background. The lots on the subdivision drain from back to front. They drain to the road. And then in the road, the stormwater takes it to these stormwater ponds up front. So the backs of those lots are raised up. Initially to fit all the underground utilities and all that, and to fit the road, but they're designed to drain forward and not a modified where part of it drains to the back, part of it drains. So they drain all the way, but what that does also do is also lifts the finished floor elevation, which is not gonna be at grade necessarily with the rear yard, that 30-foot that was vacated. So I just wanted to set up that background as well for you.
Has an appraiser or other expert witness offered an opinion on what the effect of this would be on the lots in Johio Bay, on the value of those existing homes?
With regards to a rear setback change in the
Yes.
PUD, I haven't had the evidence introduced to me, no.
Yeah, I can't speak as an expert on that.
It would seem to be a
So-
material fact in considering a purchase there, I would think. Is that a reasonable expectation?
I think that a larger home would increase the value of everyone's in that area. That's my personal opinion.
Full disclosure, I actually live, and you can see my house on this map, and I go to that lake right there quite frequently, and I totally understand some of the current concerns people have. I want to go to the lake and not see homes sticking up above, and I know these homeowners right here don't want to walk out and be 30 feet from their back porch to the house right behind them. I find that kind of disconcerting. So, I don't really have a question, just a comment.
Mr. Rumer, I see that the recommendation has been to, in other groups, has been to recommend approval. What were the bases of those
Yes.
decisions?
So when the basis so far has been, is there other communities that has a 10-foot rear setback? Cahavnanian happens to have 2 communities of such. And then looking at the adjacency of the lots to the rear and who would have the effect because of their existing single-family home, with the added benefit of additional 30 feet, with an expectation. So it's like we're fine going forward. You're going to have 6 homeowners, obviously, that are going to be affected. So let's, what wasn't taken, and we looked at the drainage. So we said, okay, the drainage is, does the house imperviousness change? Do you need to modify the stormwater ponds because there's potentially could be more impervious surfaces? No, that has been accounted for. So then it's the review of the lots all drained back to front. It's just the human factor of no matter how big my backyard is, I do have the right to enjoy my backyard, and there is going to be a structure, potentially single story, double story. That's not taking into account on land development code level review. That's more of let's talk to the community, let's vet this thing and see how it looks. So it was not a real scientific type of a recommendation. It was a recognition that there is some additional buffering with 3 trees on a lot. Typically on these 50-footers, they do 1 up front, 2 in the rear. The trees are going to be small when they're first planted, but after a while, you know, it is plausible with a good builder to make this work. So it wasn't shut down at the staff level from the beginning. This application's been in for
Quite a while.
a long time. We've been kicking it around, asking for information, and so, for instance, in your packet, you have all the different home models. So there's a lot of different options. Perhaps maybe only the lots on the south side get this reduced setback. There's ways to mitigate that the developer owner cannot offer up. So that's where we are.
So that, what you just said leads to my question, and that is why then, why is the recommendation to allow the reduced setback on all of the lots versus,
Well, I don't want to provide a very specific recommendation when it's not, it's either for or against, but to tell you, only allow lots 11 through 12, 11 through 15, that's something that I'm not gonna provide that direct level of, okay, only approve it conditioned upon. If we had other circumstances that needed to be mitigated, I could say, I recommend you approve it conditioned on this item. But this one, there was no reason to say only approve it on the south side. Well, maybe it doesn't need to be in the whole subdivision or potentially adjacent to the commercial only. A lot of townhome developments have a 10-foot rear setback. And townhomes, can have 9 units, 6 units. So you do have structures that are typical townhomes are 2-story. So I was looking at the builder and said, okay, this might be able to work. We'll see. We'll give it a go. That was after months of hoeing and hawing and looking at it, asking for different information, evaluating it. Said, okay, we'll take it forward. We'll send out the notices and see.
okay, I have a question for council. Because I don't know the precedent of adding conditions for this particular board. Would it be appropriate for us if we wanted to make a recommendation that conditions be considered? Would that be appropriate?
You will be making a recommendation to the commission as to your approval or disapproval of this. If there are additional recommendations that you want to include, we typically transmit the minutes and the P&Z recommendation to the commission with the report, the staff report, when this goes forward. And if you can make an additional recommendation in your findings, if you're thinking that you want to reduce, as Mike was saying, that what y'all were saying about reducing it on some lots and not all, you can ask that the commission consider that as an option in your recommendation. But you're essentially going to make a recommendation to them, approve it or disapprove it, and then they'll look at what y'all found and go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And I want to state early on, when you get to the public hearing process, you have in front of you a couple emails that have been sent already, so I just want to make that for the
Thank
record.
you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Room, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Mr. Roomer, I just have a concern that homeowners in Ohio Bay purchased and built homes there with the expectation of what the plan provided then. Now here we are some years later, and we're contemplating changing the rules after the fact that can have a material effect on the value and enjoyability of their current homes. Is that not the case?
Subjective question. I see your question's on point. There could be somebody that, yes, that could have very well happened. Someone purchased under what they knew to be, and now we're changing it. Yes.
Okay, you would like to make a statement?
The subdivision you're referring to, sir, is the one where the 6 lots are just above us to the north there?
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure. Would it help if instead of the 10-foot, we go to a 15-foot there?
I would welcome comments from homeowners about
I think
that.
it's lots 14 through 25 would be like basically the east half of the north side is really what it is. That's correct. Yeah.
What's the setback from all the local communities around there already?
They are typically 25 foot, 30 foot for a straight zoned. I don't think we have any I don't have a zoning map in front of me.
The front or the rear, Mike?
Rear.
Okay. Any other
And
questions of
And so
staff
it's
or the
also a
applicant?
fairly new, you know, the older traditional lots are 75 foot wide by 100 or 110, and this subdivision has 50 foot wide lots. And also the setbacks on a traditional subdivision are 7.5 foot. This one has a 5 foot, so you have 10 foot between houses, not 15. So there's, you know, about 10 houses behind the 6, incomparable with what the lot size is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions before we move to public hearing? At this time, this is a public hearing, and so if there is anyone here from the public who would like to speak on this item, you are welcome to come. When you come forward, please make sure to state your name and your address, please.
Hello, everyone.
You can bend it down.
My name is Mitzi Turchiano. I represent Willows on the Lake. We have 86 homes in our development. I appreciate the fact that the other community, Ohio Shores, they were given an additional 30 feet, while Willows on the Lake, 30 feet was taken away from our easement and given to this developer. I understand why it was done. However, the way I see it, you're talking about Ohio Shores with 5 homes. I'm looking at 86 homes on the other side that are affected by this. I personally am the closest to this. And originally I had 30 feet of trees, and now those trees are down to practically nothing. And now you're bringing those homes 10 feet away from us. These people have a 10-foot backyard. That is ridiculous. The front of of the homes of the new development has 25 feet, and then the home, and then you're 10 feet. Why can't everybody compromise, instead of doing 25 feet, bring it back to 20 feet? This way you could put at least 15 feet in the backyard. You still have your pitch of the land and everything else that you need to do. Doesn't make sense to me. You know, I keep losing more and more land, and they keep getting closer and closer. And I've lost enormous amounts of trees, massive trees. And this is upsetting to me. It really and truly is. And I feel that, why do they have to have 25 feet in their front easement when they could bring it down to 20 and do 15 in the back? To give these people some kind of a backyard. They're down to 10 feet. What are you going to put in the 10-foot backyard? You could barely put a picnic table back there. So those are my concerns. I feel that there should be some kind of compromise here. Willows on the Lake kept giving, and until this point, I've tried to be cooperative with all the developers, but this is getting ridiculous now. 10 feet. Could you imagine a 10-foot backyard? I mean, it's crazy. So those are my concerns. Is there any way to put that into some kind of proposal? Instead of doing 10, can't we do 15 and do 20 in the front instead of 25? I know personally as a homeowner, I would rather have the 15 feet in my backyard as opposed to having 25 feet in my front yard. Sure, it looks great for the community, but what about the people that are living there? And that's basically all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address this topic?
And please, if you have not filled out a speaker form, they're up by the doors up there, if you could fill one out.
Please state your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is David Swisher. I live at 2432 Ohio Bay Drive, and I'm the treasurer for the Ohio Bay Homeowners Association. Our biggest problem as an association is to guarantee the lots, the 6 lots that adjoin the northern boundary of this property. We don't have a problem with a 10-foot setback on any other portion. What we're petitioning for is on those lots that back up to our property, single-story homes only with a 20-foot setback as it originally was proposed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Now, there's plenty of land going back towards where she's talking about that has no homes that butt up to that easement. Now, there's a line of trees there. That's an old abandoned right-of-way called Azalea Lane. It was 60 feet wide. Our homeowners picked up on those 6 lots 30 feet. The developer also picked up 30 feet, okay? And so a couple questions we have is, one, I guess it's going to be a vinyl fence. I'd like to know how high it's going to be. And as a compromise, change the other lots to 10-foot setbacks, but all the ones that abut our subdivision and look down on our homes, keep those at 20 feet where they originally were proposed. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Just as we're going forward, we will hear from everyone who would like to make a statement or ask questions or need additional information. We will give staff and the applicant a chance to try to address some of that tonight, and then the board will deliberate and we'll decide about our recommendation from there. All right, Mr. Perez. Please state your full name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Socrates Perez. I'm a resident of 2412 Ohio Bay Drive, right adjacent to the project in question tonight here. The concern I have after enjoying 20 years of quietness on the back, on these 10 feet that we're proposing is big because we're concerned to go back to our backyard with a 2-story house there. 10 foot is obviously a ridiculous thing because that's the size of a small bedroom. But I have a second concern is the pole that is right on my back that I stated on the previous meeting. The simple answer to that was that would be taken care as an underground utility. I just don't know if that would be a utility easement right under the pole, or would it be on the fence to the back? Because on lot 7, yeah, there's a pole with I think it's
Overhead power line or something?
yeah, that fits. I believe it fits subdivision on Willows on the Lake through that there. In other words, the 30 feet that we'll be picking up, if I stand my fence there, I'll have a pole right in the middle. And like they say, the simple answer is to underground the utilities. But my concern is, would they underground those utilities right under the side, or we'll move it back to the property line, which is the proper thing to do, so that we could have a useful space there. Obviously, originally the approval was on 20 feet, and I don't know why there was not into consideration the products that they were going to use for 50 times 110. I represent the Ohio Bay Architectural Review Board, so I'm concerned about that.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Swisher? You already spoke, I'm sorry. Mr. Ortiz? Take your time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Eddie Ortiz. I live at 2420 Ohio Bay Drive. I'm right by the retention pond and everything. And some of the things that I heard tonight about the drainage, I do have a concern with that. They need to take care of that. I don't want water draining into my yard in the middle of a rainstorm. And I also feel like Mr. Mueller about the privacy of the community itself. I know that I've only been there now a year or so, but that was the reason that I bought this home for my wife and myself and my family to come and visit me, so I can have privacy and I can live a nice, peaceful life for the rest of my years. And it's a beautiful home, and I bought it for that reason, and I know my neighbors feel the same way that I do. They love I have a lot of neighbors here that have been here over 20 years. They've been working hard for their property. We maintain our property better than probably most of the other communities around. If you want to take a drive through it, it's a beautiful community. We don't want to lose our value in our homes. That's number one. Nobody likes losing money. And that's the thing that Eddie Ortiz hates losing, is money. I invest money, so then later on, if I pass or whatever happens, my wife and my kids will have something that I provided for them. At this moment, as I'm looking here, I don't see profits. I see myself losing money according to the way the builder wants to do it. I do not want to, if they're going to give me something, if the city and our state gives me something, don't turn around a couple of months later and tell me you're going to take it away from me, because that's not appreciated on my part, and I know my community feels the same way. So the only thing, I don't know much about the whole deal, but what I'm proposing to you is, please do not let me lose money on my property value, and please do not take my privacy away from me. Now, I was looking, if I'm looking at the big picture standing in my yard, looking back at Silver Star, okay, you guys don't get to see that every day like I do. But if you put a two-story home behind my house, I don't care if you put it all the way at the back side of the other side of the retention pond. You guys are gonna get to see me if I skinny dip or something. You know, my privacy is my privacy. If you're gonna build a home over there, make a single-story home. So then when my daughters and my kids and my grandkids come out back, I don't know who's living back there. I don't know who's going to be looking over my fence and staring at my children. You can't control that. What I need is my privacy, number one, and I don't want to lose no property value on my house. And just do it for your community. And Mr. Mueller, you know what I'm talking about. I really appreciate your attention and everything. I don't want to keep too much of your time, but I know I got people over here looking out for me, that part of the association. I'm just a homeowner saying, don't ruin what I have already. It wouldn't be fair to me and my family and the rest of our families. We're like family there. There's only like 17, 18 homes in our association block. But we take very, very good care of our properties. Anytime you want to come to my house and walk through it or come to my backyard and look out the back, you'll understand how I feel and what's already been taken away from me. I look out the backyard, I got these big old huge oak trees that look like they're gonna fall in the middle of a damn hurricane. Every time, the last storm we had, it was like 45 miles an hour the other day. Them trees were swaying like 50 feet to the sides.
Okay.
I don't want nothing falling on my house.
Yes,
you
we
know?
understand.
Because then you'll see me here complaining about something different. And I don't want to come back here. Okay, I like to work. I work 2 jobs to take care of my family. I don't want this. What I want is for you as a committee to take care of our interests. And please, thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Okay, Nathaniel Treat.
Good evening. My name is Nathaniel Treat. I own 2416 Ohio Bay Drive, which is lot 6, next to Eddie. I just kind of wanted to address a few things, of course, that, this is, me and myself and Eddie, and, of course, Socrates. We're one of three, I believe, that are here. There may even be more. I don't know everybody. I'm fairly new to the community in my neighborhood, 2 years, just over 2 years now. And, of course, I purchased my home for the same reasons that Eddie. I enjoyed the privacy. I did understand that the land behind our home was, of course, for sale, and there was development happening in the future. And so I understood that we were also getting, a portion of a setback in addition to our property line, which was also a key factor, one of the main reasons why I enjoyed, that location. But in addition to that, the main concern that I have is, there's, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's 50 property lines behind the home there. But there's only 6 that we're talking about, 10 homes that are gonna go behind the 6. There's 50 across all back. Okay.
There's 50 lots total, not
So,
50.
okay.
Yeah, not 50 along.
So how many on the back side? Is it like 25 and 25?
So it's.
Okay. The only reason why I bring that up is
You can
because,
see here, there's the cul-de-sac.
Yep.
The willows of the lake, that's your work.
Yep.
It's actually, you're trying to draw that line at 14.
I got you. Okay, perfect. I haven't had a chance to actually review this prior to this evening, so. My main concern is that the 6 homes that were already in place that are actually gonna lose even further setback. I mean, I walk out of my home right now, and, they mentioned the raised setbacks as far as the drainage. I understand the drainage is not gonna drain into our yard, Eddie. It'll drain into the front, from the front, or the back of the home to the front. But I mean, you walk out and the tractors are already 10 feet above my house. Like, I mean, they're 20 feet back and 10 feet above my home, right out the back of my home. So my main concern is if there's 25 homes on that north side, we're talking about 6 homes, that are gonna be affected by that. There's gonna be 10 homes back there, and I understand you have two property styles that will be able to go back there. So we're talking about a fraction of the homes that you can fit there. And of course, she made a very valid comment as far as the 25 feet in the front yard or 20 feet in the front yard versus the setback that would help alleviate that. I think to stick with the initial 20 feet that we all, of course, agreed on and that was already in place prior to would be ideal. To even change that now, I don't think that's right, personally. Of course, that's community, and I get it. I mean, but the same thing, looking at it on a homeowner's perspective, on the other side, I don't see how that would be attractive to myself or my family either, and how that would bring value to me purchasing or not purchasing a home with a smaller yard in their neighborhood. So that's kind of my statements. I just don't think it's worth it for the 6 homes that are already there.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Absolutely.
Miss Brenda Singleton?
Hi, I actually reside at 2400 Ohio Bay, and I'm one of the 6 homes that does back up to this area. I did make my opinion and feelings about this known in an email that I did send to you all. But something was brought up while we were here from the developers or the owners about possibly compromising on a 15 feet. My feeling on that is that, again, they bought this knowing that it already had a 20-foot setback, which is a decent sized backyard for somebody. And to go into something like this and not have a plan that could fit on something that they were going to buy doesn't make sense, commercial sense to me anyway. And so to wrangle now and say that we are not being agreeable if we don't compromise another 5 feet is to me a little petty, because if they're willing to do that, then they should be able to have a plan that should fit on the property and leave the 20-foot setback that was originally there when they purchased the property. So all the other explanations and feelings about this are in my email. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, I think this is Tamar Edwards.
Good evening. My name is Tamara Edwards. I'm 1819 Sparrow Song Lane. I'm in the Willows on the Lake subdivision. I agree with Mitzi, and I agree with the lady that just spoke, and I also agree with Mr. Mellon. The thing is, they did take 30 feet from our property. Even though I'm technically on the other side of the water, the purpose of us purchasing the property is because of privacy. We had to pay additional monies compared to some of the other people in the development to have that privacy, to not only have the lake, but to have the woods behind. But then when I saw the woods being taken away, it just seemed like the privacy was being taken away. I understand that they want to build more homes there, but you know, with the setback, so technically they took 30, and then now they want to bring it back to 10, so the 30 they took from us, they're using 20, or something to that effect. I'm trying to understand. But it's just the privacy. And then he said something about just putting like 1 or 2 trees up there. You know, we need a buffer. We need something to, you know, for our privacy. That's the main thing. And as for Mitzi, what she forgot to mention is they had removed all the trees that's actually facing her home. So technically the home that they build, their backyard will be her front yard. She'll be technically looking into their home, because she's in that cul-de-sac that you're looking at, right there. She's like that house right around that cul-de-sac, right? The other one. One more. Yeah. So it's just the privacy.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any others that wanted to speak? We'll ask that you fill out a speaker card and then you can come forward.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes? Yes. Can you come to the podium? We do have to get you for the record.
Sure. I just want to say one little thing. It's just a deal of, I mean, like my neighbor just said behind me, you know, you're going to build homes there. On that corner, there shouldn't be no 2-story homes. There should be single-story homes, at least for that one section. You got plenty of room to build 2-story homes. That was all I meant. Okay, I mean, that'll keep some privacy down.
Thank you.
Build a fence.
Mr. Romer, there were several
Yeah.
questions
Yeah,
and issues raised. Would you like to address them?
Let me cover what I think they're saying by the taking of 30 feet.
Okay.
What I think they're describing is this used to be a 60-foot paper right-of-way, so when it was a right-of-way, nothing was going to be built in there. And now 30 foot of that is going to be built on. I believe that's what they mean by taking the 30 feet. Okay, good. That's one. Okay, so the other items are, I'm gonna go over them, then I'm gonna come back and make some comments. Why 25 foot in the front? A 25-foot setback for this PUD, can it be less? We'll come back to that. Additional land taking, I've cleared that up. How high is the fence? There'll be a 6-foot tall vinyl fence along the rear. This utility pole, I don't know what that, I don't have a survey. I don't know about the utility pole in his rear yard and if they underground it. If it's not in the subdivision, it's on the line, I don't know. There's a utility pole in the 30-foot he gained from the right-of-way. There's a utility, I can't answer that one, I don't know what that is. The drainage, we have, the lots are designed to drain from back to the front. So by law, no more water can go on the property on the other side than what goes now. That's reviewed by St. John's. It's designed by an engineer, and the city has an engineer that looks at it. It passed muster, but it's designed to all drain to the front. The front setback, we can come back to that. Compromise, we can come back to that. So there's really privacy and take 30 feet. Looking at this subdivision is not gated. They are public roads. So the benefit is when they're public roads, you have a full 50-foot right-of-way. You have 24 foot of asphalt, 2 12-foot lanes. A lot of times in a gated subdivision, these days are in a private subdivision. They'll make the roads a little bit narrower, 11-foot lanes. So we do have the full normal public road in front of them. I can see there could be an opportunity to reduce that 25-foot setback to a 20 or possibly a 15 and negate the rear. That's something we can look at with the applicant. There's certainly the opportunity. 25 is a normal good front setback, but a lot of the subdivisions you see that are on like 40-foot wide lots, 45s, they have a reduced front setback. The benefit with kind of looking at the integrity of this subdivision is we do have nice normal public roads, so it's not going to be cramped with a cramped road and buildings up. So we can look at that front setback issue. I think there's room to play there and get something different. And that would fall under the taking of the 30-foot we answered with that right-of-way. That would be the privacy, compromise, maybe able to work it to get it to they possibly don't even need a 10-foot rear yard. If 10 foot off the front would be 15 foot, we can look at that. If he's got some lots that can take a 15-foot rear setback, but we can move it up on the front. So I think if we have a chance to look at it, we can, there's some room. I'm looking at the road. I'm glad to see that, yeah, we do have public roads, 24-foot lane width and 50-foot right-of-way, so.
Okay.
I forget the lady's name that made the point about the front. If we could go to a 20 instead of a 25-foot front setback, and then we could do the 20 on the back, and it would be, the rear yards would be the same, and it'd be a 5-foot less on the front, if that's acceptable to the staff and the city. That would work for everything.
Okay, thank you very much. So at this time, we're going to close the public hearing, and
Well,
we're,
hold up.
oh, no? I'm doing-
The applicant just offered a,
Right, okay, maybe
so
I said.
you can discuss that now. If you
Okay,
close the
I thought we
public hearing,
closed it, then
We
discussed.
can't talk anymore.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
So we discussed, then closed. Okay, got it. Thank you.
You can, or you can make a motion and discuss that, but since you're just discussing, like Mike said, a change of the plan, you want to go ahead and just discuss that.
Okay, so you're hearing what the applicant is proposing. You've heard from several citizens. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? And then I'm sorry, well, I don't know how we do that.
At this point, the board is discussing the options and the comments and the concerns and such.
So potentially, if we can.
The city commission will also be taking this up in a public hearing, of course, as well.
The applicant has said they can, a 15-foot rear, they'll be able to fit the product. We can do a 5-foot, we can amend the request to be a 5-foot, which would still be a substantial amendment, going from 25-foot to 20-foot. And then the rear issue goes away. And then the issue going forward is a front yard setback change from 25 to 20.
So would we,
Right,
council, would we put that in as part of a motion?
That would be the motion.
Okay.
The substantial amendment is, instead of the rear setback, it's affecting the front setback.
Okay. So if anyone has the pleasure to make that motion?
I actually find that very amicable. I do prefer the 20-foot over the rear, in the rear. I also agree with the homeowners that lots 14 to 25 should be a single story.
And so
Just because it's up so high and looking down, it's,
what we would do on our part is we would resend the 300-foot notice describing, that talks about the next meeting, the city commission meeting, and we would say the request would be from a front yard setback instead of a rear. That would be taken off. So what would go to the city commission would be the front yard setback, and the ordinance would reflect such. So at that meeting, you can't change it to a different request.
Yeah.
We can at this meeting, so it's the next request at the city commission meeting, it'll be a front yard setback only. So we would make that change to let them know that we're not, how the step goes from here, so.
Before you make a
For show
motion.
of hands, for and against.
The Planning and Zoning Commission wants to hear if the public is happy or satisfied with that. At that point, I would suggest that we hear from the person who didn't get the opportunity to speak. If you'd like to speak.
My name is Joe Turciano. I live in Willows on the Lake. The other problem that we have is that the way the property was graded from the back towards the front, where they're putting the fence is on our property line. So there's an elevation already from their side of the fence, because the way they've graded the property, and they've taken away all the trees that were there on the property, and now Ed, who is the supervisor manager of the project, said that he would accommodate us and put some bamboo trees and so on and so forth to give us a little privacy. But the problem is that the fence is on our level, and they're already about 4.5, 5 feet higher already. So those houses that are in the back of the property are already going to be looking over the fence. The fence is not on their property, it was on our easement. That's where their debris field, their fence was. And that's where we were told the fence is going to be. So I suggested to them that they put the fence on their property so that it would be, the elevation would compensate for their houses. But again, this is what we understood, was that the fence is going to be on our property line, and the elevation is already 3.5, 4 feet higher already. So the 6-foot fence is only a 2-foot fence. So that's the problem for us, and I'm sure it's the same for Ohio Bay, you know?
I have site inspectors that go, I haven't been out and inspected, but is the fence up, or
No,
you're talking about where the,
no,
you're talking about where
they
the
have
silt,
a debris
the silt
fence.
fence is right now, and they said where that silt fence is, that's where the 6-foot fence is going.
Exactly, and that's on our property, and their property is at least 3 feet even higher than our property, so that.
He's buying the fence, he's telling them where it's installed. It's
Well,
not-
this is what we were told.
Yeah, okay, yes, yes.
It'll be on the high side?
But it's on the level of our property.
Okay, okay.
And your elevation
Can
is
you-
at least
Yes.
3 feet higher because of the way you graded the property. So
Okay, if you could,
a 6-foot fence becomes a 2-foot fence.
Sir, if you could
Okay.
address the chair
yeah,
and not the audience.
I'm sorry.
it's okay. And then also, could you please
I'll have an
respond for the
answer.
record?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll
okay,
need
I'll-
a card filled out.
Yes.
Can you fill out a speaker card?
Yes, I will. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
I just say, there's probably some grading back, but the fence will go on at grade with the residential lot that's being built, so, yes.
Okay, and sir, if you don't mind, the reason why we opened it back up for public comment was to get your opinion on the concessions that the developer or the builder is willing to make on reducing the front setback to allow
Well, that's
That's
better, but I'm still concerned that
about the
as the
elevation.
people from Ohio Bay, that they're gonna be looking, I mean, the fence is non-existent. You know, so, like, again, if they were putting it on their property line, which is the highest point of the elevation, that would be one thing, but to put it down to our level, there's a 6-foot fence is gonna be non-existent. So we're gonna be seeing their house, I mean,
I think he's talking to the foreman of the site work, but the fence company that you hire to put is gonna actually install the fence. So he's probably answering the best he knows, but we're gonna tell you it's not gonna be down there. It'll be on the high side.
well, that's would be acceptable, but again, that's what my main concern is, you know? Again, everybody had woods there well, we're there 13 years. And now all of a sudden, to remove one tree was a problem. They just wiped out 5,000 trees. And they took all our privacy. I mean, I'm standing there looking at not Big Lots, Dollar Store. That Dollar General lights up my house now. And I never saw it for 13 years. So, I mean, this is the problem that I think everybody's concerned about, is that we want some privacy. I mean, they knew what they were getting into when they bought the property. Now they want to change the game. And I think that's unfair to all the residents that have been here for a long time.
Okay, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your statements. So, going back to our discussion, you were considering a motion or?
Well, in the discussion phase, I agreed with, if they, strictly talking, the amendment that's before us was to change the setback. I'd like to leave the setback to 20 feet and then add a condition of the home lots 14 to 25 that are single story only. And just that one little block there that borders up that community.
Those lots, what is it,
Correct.
14?
14 through 25
Through 25, okay.
would be single story. And the rest, I think everybody is good with that.
Okay, so can you make that specifically in the, are you trying to make a motion
No,
with
we're
that? Or just
discussing. My
discussion?
opinion at
Okay,
this point in time.
okay. Do you have any comments as well?
I'm curious about the applicant's reaction to these prospects, as well as especially the homeowner's reaction to these prospective accommodations.
It's a point of clarification. So what we're on the setbacks, 20 foot on the rear, 20 foot on the front. Is that what we're, what the motion is?
Well, there's no motion.
The discussion, I'm sorry. The discussion, my bad.
And then,
Right, going over what this was actually here for was, where is it here? We're only talking about the rear setback. So what the front is, as he was saying, if it's 20 in the rear and whatever the front is, if it's,
Well, currently it's 25.
Okay,
and-
that'll be
And if
20.
if we remain at 20 in the front, or excuse me, in the rear, if we could get 20 in the front, then we could make the house fit in the same space.
correct.
I mean, and that's what, and that would be what we could, that would work for our project, and I think it would satisfy the setback issue on the rear side.
And then on my second point, with those few homes right there in that border, those 6 homes, making it a condition that they're only single-story homes right there, so, you know, our members of our community aren't looking 10 feet up and into a 2-story house.
Yeah, Mr. Trussell said that would work. I think that'll work fine. There'd be lots, let me make sure I read the lot numbers right. Lots 14 through 25.
Correct. I know 14 goes, I don't know which ones were actually those homes, if it actually starts at 14 or if it's like 17, you know, if it,
That's, I can't tell.
It's kinda hard to
I can't tell
tell.
on that plan which one's the 6 houses, but, is it that one? Well, so it's really,
this one's a deeper lot.
so it'd be really 15 to 14 through 17? Or these last 2 are over here?
I just take it all the way down to the corner, just that whole
Okay.
stretch there.
So My concern at this point is that I'm not exactly sure if it is ready for us to recommend approval, and or if it, because at this point, while we appreciate the citizens that are here, there are a lot of other citizens who would like input, or probably would like input based on what they're saying, that the neighborhood has some interest in it. So my feeling at this point would be to not recommend approval and allow it to go back and be vetted a little bit further and then come back. But that is where I am at this point, but I can be persuaded.
I think we could add the condition of what we just discussed and do a vote right now.
So you would
I would make a motion.
recommend approval to the commission with these conditions recommended that they impose upon the plan? And
Correct.
that would be your report to the city commission, and then at the public hearing before the city commission, then all the other residents that didn't speak tonight can come and speak to the commission. And if they're opposed to, or if they're in favor of your conditions, recommended conditions, so that the city commission can hear from the people about those recommended changes. And the developers, okay with the recommendations you all are making, so they'll come to the commission and say, we're fine, we went to the planning and zoning, we heard from the public, we agree with these conditions, they're reasonable.
Is it possible for us to ask the homeowners and other members of the public here for a show of hands as to who would be in favor of accepting this with these two accommodations?
It's highly unusual. You can ask if there's someone who wants to speak again about those conditions or anything
Chair?
additional they might want to add, and maybe a representative or two could come up and add.
So if we can hear from two speakers, if you can just please come to the podium, just two speakers, to indicate whether you support or if you have any particular issues concerning the proposed conditions that we're looking at considering at this time. Maybe one from each neighborhood, that would probably do well. Is Willow,
You'll need to come to the mic.
okay, at this time, let me just get the opinions, and then if there are any other questions, we'll come back to that. So if there's someone from Willows and someone from Ohio who would speak on your opinion about the proposed conditions?
Yes, I'm going to speak, I believe, for all the residents of Ohio.
And your name again for the
Brenda
record?
Singleton,
And your address again for the record?
2400 Ohio Bay Drive. And we definitely, I'm sure they agree, that this would definitely be an acceptable situation for us with maintaining the 20-foot setback, and that they would work on, work with that, and give us also the
Okay, if we can keep the comments down, because it's hard.
condition of the one-story houses, we would be happy about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, please say your name and address again for the record, please.
Mitzi Turchiano, 2014 Marshran Court. I'm in the Willows on the Lake subdivision. In listening to everybody's opinion, 20 feet in the back would really make us feel a lot better. But I would also like to add that if you look at our development and what's missing, especially down on the end, the trees are all gone. So what I would like is Kay Hovnanian to put back on our side of the property, put some bamboo trees that grow quickly, that'll give us the some privacy that we had when we first bought these homes. When I first bought the home 13 years ago. The development's about 15 years old. And like I said, there are 86 homes there, and we were just surrounded by so much greenery, and now it's gone, So if we can work something out where especially down on the end where they remove the trees completely. I would really much like that to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, the fence. Oh, the fence. My husband, he feels the fence shouldn't be, the way they graded the property, when I stand there, the property is up to here on me. So if the fence goes down here, like, you know, way low, then the fence doesn't really, but what they're saying is the fence will go on top of the high graded property, is that what you're saying? The higher portion?
Yes.
Then that would work, because then it would be up high and then the 6 feet and.
I think the silt fence is keeping the dirt from eroding back.
Yeah,
And that's why it's low, and so.
but what I was afraid of is when they take away the silk, they'll put the fence right there and then.
Okay, we're going to avoid having a full
Oh, I'm
conversation.
sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
But thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your comments. So, there,
What kind of fence? That's all I know.
it's a vinyl fence.
Okay, how tall?
It's 6 feet.
No, it's gotta be at least 10 feet. Right? I'm telling you that. Ain't gonna do nothing.
You don't do.
Okay, I think there are rules and regulations that determine the height of, the height of the fence. So at this time, we're going to, well, I think what we'll do is why don't we go ahead and start moving towards a decision? And then we will have an opportunity for you to speak with the applicant and with staff regarding any other questions at this time, because unless any board members have questions regarding any of the things that were said so far, I think we need to move forward.
I do have a comment, though. What we make is just a recommendation. This is going to go before City Hall, the commissioners, and the mayor. So make sure y'all keep on top of it and go there as well, and you can also address, some of the concerns you have with them. I have no idea.
Is that, I think it's the 16th or something next week?
It will be an advertised public hearing like this one was, so you will have notice of the public hearing before the city commission.
There's no answer for that poll, and I'm very concerned about it.
Okay,
That poll, for on the PNZ, I don't know if that poll, I know nothing about it. I don't know if it's an Orange County poll. I don't know if it's an FDOT poll. I don't know, OUC poll.
yeah, I don't think that that's something that we can address here in this forum, but what I would encourage you to do is to get with Planner Rummer and get with staff, and they can help you figure out the issue to that. Okay.
My simple question is, yes, they wanted to change the setback to 10 because of their bigger products. Now, the question is, how many plans do they have that is supposed to, that they're trying to accommodate for that setback? So that we can say, okay, well, maybe yes, maybe no. Because I know with many builders, they have, 7 plans for them to choose from. They have 3 plans for them to choose from. And my question is for them is, for the setback, how many
Oh.
plans?
Okay, for the record, because, just to ask the question on the record, because with you not being at the podium, it's not, the question of the applicant is there, in essence, is there a number of the larger style homes that you're trying to achieve on the lots that would indicate to us how many lots would really need to be adjusted in terms of setbacks? Or are you just simply going to use the standard once it is adopted?
Currently, the way it is now, we have maybe 2 houses that'll fit on there, and then, but I can't, I say 7 to 10 that would fit on if we had 5 more feet. So we're really limiting a home buyer's, choices. They come in there you can have just these 2 houses, and to limit it to 50 lots that way just wouldn't be conducive. So it's a 65-foot pad as it is today. We just happen to have a couple of smaller homes that'll fit on it. 70 building pad is our standard building path. So we have, like I said, 9 or 10 of them.
Okay, thank you.
That,
So, are you ready to make a motion?
Close the public hearing,
Oh,
and then
so I-
we'll move to a motion.
Okay. So at this time, we're going to close the public hearing, and I will ask for a motion. One motion is necessary for this particular item.
Wow.
Go ahead.
How to word the motion is going to be the tricky part here. All right, so I'm going to make a motion on the Ocoee Landings PUD Major Amendment rezoning to PUD, project number RZ 180914, that we leave the rear yard setback change at 20 feet and add a condition that lots 14 through 25 will be single-story only.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
And that is are we recommending approval of this with those?
The front yard setback will be adjusted accordingly, as we discussed in the public hearing. Yeah, you want to
And yes,
adjust the
and the
front yard.
front yard setback can be adjusted accordingly
To 20 feet.
to 20 feet.
And this is a motion to approve with those?
approve.
Okay, thank you. Or recommend approval, pardon me, thank you.
So we have a recommendation to approve, may I borrow your notes? We have a recommendation to approve project number RZ 180914, with the recommendation of leaving the setback in the rear to 20 feet, with putting the condition that from lots 14 to 25 be limited to single-story only, and that the front yard setback be accommodated as necessary, as stated to 20 feet. Okay, is there a second?
I will gladly second that motion.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. All right, thank you very much. The motion passes. Thank you very much. This item will be heard at the next city council hearing, or just,
It's not been advertised.
Oh,
We'll
we'll have to
advertise it.
advertise it.
We'll
Yeah,
do a
there's a
notice.
reading of an ordinance, so the December 4th will be a first reading of ordinance. There's no public hearing, there's no discussion. The second reading will be the second meeting, December 18th.
And that'll be a
would be-
public hearing.
Yeah, and that will
Okay.
be advertised and all of that.
okay. Well, thank you all very much. Your comments and concerns were very important to this discussion.
Thank you.
So at this time, we're going to return back to our.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
The, I gotta do it off my head. The next item is and I do not see the engineer here. I have an email to him. So if we can move ahead to Inspiration PUD.
All right. We are moving to Inspiration Town Center and Luxury Homes, which is a large-scale preliminary preliminary and final site plan. Mr. Rummer, if you would proceed with your report.
Yes, let me get up here. The subject property is located on the south side of the Florida Turnpike and
I'm
west-
sorry, excuse me, Mr. Rummer. If we could just give our audience a little bit of time to move forward, move out. Okay, I think,
Subject property is located on the south side of the Florida Turnpike and west of McGuire Road. This is on the downward ramp of the McGuire Road Bridge going over the turnpike. The property is currently vacant. It went through the plan unit development process earlier this year to provide a zoning designation and a development that will consist of 90 townhomes and commercial development to consist of a daycare, retail, office, mixed-use, town center type of development. The property has it has been annexed in, it has a commercial land use. The property will be accessed via this future, what's called a north road. And this north road is presently on this piece of property. As part of a prior agreement with this property owner, they will dedicate the right-of-way necessary for this road. This goes back to an agreement back when Tom and Boulevard used to actually run all the way this way. And when Tom and Boulevard was vacated, in order to vacate it, this agreement was written where the right-of-way would be dedicated by this property owner. And you can see that road, you can see the right-of-way area here, and designed for the right-of-way. The right-of-way will also obviously access this piece of property as well. There is another development to the west which has office and another type of preschool which is existing. You have Tom and Boulevard and McGuire Road. As I said before, the PUD for this, approving the townhomes in this layout was approved earlier this year. What they're coming forward now is they're combining two processes, the preliminary and the final site plan for the commercial side and the subdivision for the residential side. The next step after getting approvals is breaking ground and constructing the project. As part of the property owner on the south, in order to dedicate the right-of-way for this future road, which they're willing to put the right-of-way in an escrow, they want to make sure the road is designed, the pond you see here takes in stormwater from their property. There's a pipe under the road. They just want to make sure everything on the road and that the access points on that road into their property are in the right place. So they're doing some design on their side of their lot so they can tell the applicant how to design the road. And if such time as that's figured out, the road will be, the right-of-way will be dedicated. The applicant is designing the road on a separate set of plans, not in this preliminary final sub. It's an off-site improvement, separate set of plans. The property is going to have water and sewer and reclaimed from City of Ocoee. And there's past agreements with the developers. The developer that owns this land owned all of this land to the south that is now a residential subdivision that deals with lift stations and pipe sizes and all that stuff. Just some background. We have a plan, so you have a plan that's going to show the design, show where this road's going to be located and basically how it's going to look, but the final plans will be approved but on a separate set. So what happens is while we're working through that design and they're doing construction, they can keep working. They're not tied to the road holding up their set of plans. So it's a separate set of plans. Just want to make that clear. We also have the applicant has done the necessary work with the school board. They have a mitigation plan for the students. And you've really got a unique project. It's hard for me to describe. The applicant can do a better job, but I can just tell you that some of the key features of this plan, since you were not sitting on this, well, Mr. Wunderlich was, but the other two members were not sitting on this board when the plan unit development came forward, is there is a, let me get a better zoomed in. There will be public road access to a roundabout that goes into a gated subdivision, high-end townhomes, 90 townhomes. You see product samples and part of your staff report. As this is the only way into the property, and it's been set up that way from day one, we have provided for an emergency stabilized access outlet here. What does that mean? When you drive on McGuire Road and come off over the bridge, what you're gonna see is a wall, and then you're gonna see a little break in the wall where there'll be a gate. There's not gonna be a driveway cut into McGuire Road, because it is not one where you're, unless you're an emergency vehicle with your lights flashing, the car can't stop and make that turn in. They'll have to jump the curb, but there will be a way to get off the side of the road, open the gate, either a Knox box, click to enter. There's different methods that they'll work out with the fire department and police department. And this will be stabilized, unobstructed, so they can, if there for some reason an accident on this road, that they can get emergency vehicles back into this development. So there is a second emergency access, but it will not be able to be utilized by traffic. It will be emergency vehicles only.
So,
Yes.
I'll wait till you finish.
So also, they have stormwater retention kind of wrapping the development, and it's all pedestrian friendly, where you can walk on trails and go to the mixed-use retail, restaurant, office side. Really unique site furnishings. Everything's going to be high-end. You can, the applicant can describe better, but this is a mock-up of what the development will look like. This is the type of architecture that will be utilized on this property. And so we keep these elevations, this is the townhomes, as part of the public hearing package, part of the plan unit development, a part of the approved final site plan. So when they start submitting building permits, and I get something that's not that upgraded, I reject the building permit and say it's not per plan, not what we agreed to. So with that, there's, it's a unique project. It's where it's set. Now this is, you know, the plan unit development is set. This is the construction documents. I'm here to ask any question, answer any questions.
Okay, well, I'm gonna start, because I do have a question. When I saw this, it reminded me of something that I experienced in another county, and my concern is, I understand, I'm eager and excited to hear that there is a plan for a secondary access for emergency.
And also keep in mind, there will be a driveway or two here, which will go through a commercial, which will have a right out onto McGuire. This development will have a one or maybe two right in, right out. They may have an access point. So you'll be able to get, if there was an accident at this intersection, you would still be able to get through. It's just looking at this lot by itself, there's only one way in, one way out. With design, we figured out a way to at least provide.
Yeah, it is this roundabout, this one way in, one way out access that I'm really concerned about. That's first of all, it's a lot of people to have, in my opinion, to have one way in, one way out, and then you add to it the commercial property. My concern is that should there be an emergency situation, that although it's great that the emergency vehicles can get through, I'm concerned that we'll have people feeling like they're trapped in place.
Well, yes, I can understand that. And at this point, you're more looking at the design of the roundabout, not because remember, this is all commercial. So this could be a commercial development generating thousands of trips. What's happening is we have 90 townhomes. That parcel is being underutilized on what it can as a commercial land use and zoning. So reduced number of trips. There is, in the 80s, when they vacated this road, obviously because you needed to have the bridge for McGuire, this is the only way in, only way out. via public road, but there will be other ways through the shopping center to get out. But, so you're really, at this point, that's a PUD issue, but you're looking at, that set, that is the approved access point.
So there, okay, let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. So because this is not as intense as what was originally approved, and the road is already designed for what would have been commercial, and now it's residential, which then reduces the trips, that it should, at least in theory, be more safe, or should be a safe situation for these residents. Is that what you're saying?
For your fears,
Yeah.
in the sense of the amount of trips, I was saying, well, these trips will be reduced from what could go in under a larger development pattern for commercial development. What is a fact is, even when this right-of-way was vacated, this future land use designation was all commercial. It was taken into account that this road, this public road, is going to be the sole way in and out of this development. And so to deny the PUD and say you can't develop it because we don't like one access, that's a fight for a different level. So the PUD got approved, be based off of the existing conditions and the existing agreements. So there is a way, it's a future road that someone has to build. This property owner's in first, they build the road. So it will have a 2-lane divided road section. So, you know, it's not a little, it's not a little access aisle. It's not a drive aisle. It's a road. It's going to have, it's actually 4-lane divided. Yeah, it's 4-lane divided with a median. So you've got the 2 lanes going up, 2 lanes coming back. It's a big right of way.
Okay.
So it's going to be able to handle the traffic. We just were able to, through design, provide an additional set of comfort for EMS.
Okay.
So,
My major concern, although Trips was involved in that, my major concern was if something happens and we have a catastrophe, do we have people who are now trapped and feeling they can't get out?
one thing that has changed as design and as what you learn as a city from different site plans, different developments is the fire truck location, the fire hydrant location to the FDC, where that first truck's gonna pull up and start pumping out of. We make sure now that proximity to the building is close. There's a set standard, but also it may block an interior drive aisle, because when that hose gets water through it, you're not driving it. We will not set up a situation where the hose is gonna go across the road, because you can't use that road, even the emergency vehicles. So we set up the fire hydrants where it's strategic, where they can run the hose, put the fire out around the building, and not cross any roads. So that's not gonna happen here. Forgot what else you asked.
No, I think you've answered my question.
So anyways, we take that into account. So design has changed, so we kind of eliminate that. Yeah, and the chance, that at this pinch point right here, if you have an accident, or you have it's really, if there's an accident here and it's tough to get by, and say somebody calls in for a heart attack or something, they can still get in. It's that sort of situation. But this is a wide right-of-way, 4-lane divided, so there's plenty of room.
Are there any other questions?
Mr. Rumor, is my memory correct that these townhouses are on the order of 2,400 square feet?
minimum living by the PD is 1850.
Minimum 18.
That's per the PD, the applicant can add on later on for that. He'll get you.
Yeah, if you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Ray Veloso from Yellow Rock Construction, the developer for the Inspiration Town Center Luxury Homes. The townhomes are high-end townhomes. They all have two-car garage. They have almost 2,300 of air-conditioned space. But each townhome also has a minimum of 500 square foot of backyard, and the backyard has masonry walls and a summer kitchen in each of them. This is a unique project. It's catered to higher-end customers that are looking for really a project that is finished with quality. Meaning all the interiors are high-end with porcelain tiles. Artificial grass in each backyard is included. You can see the facade that some of the elevation has composite wood. It's what you see. The plans have been actually submitted to the city about 3 weeks ago, and these elevations are actually based off the plans. So what you see is what you get, and this is really unique. We're bringing products that you see in California and that you're starting to see in Lake Nona on the east side of town, which is called the Technology, and the Medical Center. So we love this location. We had the commercial site for a long time now, since 2006, and we decided to buy the lot next door for the residential community because we think that it's strategically located close to where everybody likes to live. Ocoee, Windermere, downtown Orlando, Metro West, Dr. Phillips. And we have tons of clients. We're used to build products like this. We built a few actually 300 of them in the Kissimmee area for vacation homes, but we were approached that people wanted to have this type of product for full-time living. So location was just really good for us because you're close to the best places in Orlando. I would love to live in there. As a matter of fact, I will have one of my homes in there. So we did it as if we were gonna be doing for ourselves because we know that other people will like it too. So what you see is exactly what you're gonna get. High-end product for it's not gonna be affordable. This is for doctors. This is for executives type of customers that are looking for this type of product. And on the commercial side, it's worth mentioning that the school, it is called the Amazing Explorers. It's the first 100% STEM school, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. We opened the first model in Lake Nona, right at Lake Nona Boulevard, about a year ago. It's a 210 kids capacity. In 3 months we were full, and we have 200 people on the waiting list. So that school is located on the rear of the commercial side, right there. And then you have building number 3, which is this one here. Those are gonna be professional medical offices. Then you have this one here, which is like a retail restaurant. And then you have the 2-story building, which is medical office and retail. So, it will provide, if you look at it, Ocoee, Windermere, this particular area there, you don't have any availability for commercial today. Everything's taken, everything is On the larger side, on purpose, we have created small footprints. There are more like 1,200 to 1,500 square feet. Of course, you can combine them, but you can also cater and serve, people that don't need a lot of space, but they want a high-end space. We have a similar product in terms of size in Metro West. It's called the Veranda Park. We bought that building about 3 years ago. We completely remodeled, and we have had 100% capacity for the past 3 years. It's full. We have daycares, we have spas, we have 5 attorney's office, preschool, yeah. Furniture stores. We have a coffee shop, so, but it's all small. So they have been doing well because our rents are not, $4,000 a month. You can have a nice place, for $2,500. So we did a very good research, and we know what the market needs. But they don't just want something that is affordable. They want the quality and the affordability at the same time. So it's that mix that makes our products unique.
Well, thank you very much.
There'll be a wall, a
10-foot wall.
10-foot wall along the Florida Turnpike. As part of the PD, they have to put in their sales brochure that they are adjacent to the Florida Turnpike and what comes with that. They'll also have a wall between the residential and this feature commercial on the vacant, and then this is commercial here, so.
High-end landscaping. Our bid for the landscaping has been completed. We're spending $750,000 in landscaping, so that wall by the turnpike will have a lot of tall trees. It's not a requirement by the city, but it's our requirement. We want everybody that's buying in, to have a complete experience. We don't want them to be hearing or feeling that they are adjacent to turnpike. So yeah, we go all in. We like to do it just like what you see there, because it's our name, it's our reputation. We have been building for the last 18 years, and that we think, that each one that we do it just, propels us forward, and people get to know us and, want to buy from us because they know we deliver what we actually show them.
Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure, thank you.
Are there any other questions of staff or the applicant? No?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing, and so, where am I? There we go. Okay. So is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Have you filled out a speaker card? Did you complete a speaker card, sir? Okay.
I didn't fill a question.
You have the card, or you turn it?
Yeah, okay, I'll fill it after. I know Mike will.
Please state your name and your
My name is
address.
Jim McNichol. I live at 830 Patriots Point Drive in Ocoee. And for my sins, I'm the president of the Brookstone HOA, which is the property development on the opposite side of this potential site.
Over there, okay.
I think I didn't come planning to speak up because I knew this was happening yesterday. But I would say from the commercial aspect, if you go north on Maguire to Old Winter Garden Road, I think it's called, yeah, where Rustique and a variety of retail, restaurant type stuff. And in the last 10 years, they've changed constantly. Rustique, I think, is the 5th restaurant that's been in that same site. Not a very successful group of places. If you go south on Maguire to the Publix shopping area, you have a similar effect, where there are businesses open in the last 2 or 3 years, and then they disappear. And they're in what I would call a more drag-orientated traffic than what commercial will be in this little corner of the woods. The style of the homes is a whole different thing, and if this gets passed, I'll talk to the City Commission about that. But my biggest concern, if it goes ahead, is the traffic. Toman Boulevard was just repaved at a cost of over $200,000 by the city. And now you're going to put another 90 odd homes in and some commercial retail type stuff. On the other side, where the Scorman apartments were built, because of the volume of traffic there, and there's less apartments, I think, that developer provided the city, I believe, if some Mike could confirm, but between $300,000 and $400,000 to put a right turn lane in, taking you going north of Maguire into Old Winter Garden because of the traffic build-up and backup. If you were leaving Brookstone from 7:30 to 9 in the morning, you had to play like a little frog to get across Maguire Road because of the traffic. A large percentage of that traffic was turning right, and there was no right turn lane. So the reverse is going to be true here in the evening. Coming south on Maguire, turning into Tommen Boulevard, which is 2 lanes, one each way, unlike the access into these 90 homes, which is going to be 2 lanes in and 2 lanes out, which is rather odd compared to the... So if it goes ahead, I think you should ask the developer to pay the cost of putting a right turn lane in on the southbound Maguire to turning right into Tommen. You really need to go back to Steve Krug in the City Public Works and say, we're going to have all this additional traffic. Tommen Boulevard is a very busy road from morning till night. I know it's like in the dark hours, but morning to night it's very busy. And probably should be 2 lanes each way. And you can almost justify it by putting all these extra homes and traffic, potential traffic. So, in summary, if the go-ahead is go-ahead, then I think it should be the enhancement of a right turn lane on the southbound Maguire into Tommen Boulevard. Mike knows his places well. He knows me well. It's okay. I think that's necessary because if you go there from about 3:30 in the afternoon till 6:30 in the afternoon, it's backed up all the way over the Turnpike Bridge. And most of that traffic is turning right. They're not all going into the development I live in, because we've only got 300 homes. And the other concern, it doesn't show there, but in an aerial picture you'll see where the little school is, and there's also a pedestrian crossing there. Maybe need something different there, because kids from our development that I live in walk to that school in the morning with their parents. And there's also a lot of traffic going to there. From early hours until at least 6:30, you will see parents dropping off or picking up kids. So cautionary notes, if you want to go ahead, I think there's a penalty to add some extra dollars, put a right turn lane in and consider going back to the city, having repaved this road. It really needs to be widened. Thank you.
Yeah, so he's talking about a lot of issues just in the area, but with respect to what is required out of this development is a right turn decel lane. You can see some of it here. And then a left turn lane from a left turn lane turning into the site. Additionally, what this property owner has offered to do is, because they're sort of at the table, they're interested in what's happening next to them. They've said, well, we're willing to study our property and come up with, if we were developing now, that left turn lane that's being constructed, there's no sense in having to then add on to it later. So they're going to take their development program, we'll put it in the system, and if they had a 95-foot or 120-foot left turn lane, and this property owner's development extends it, they are going to pay to have that turn lane extended. So it's in its final stage. So with this development is coming a right turn lane and a left turn lane into this site. And then when this development comes in, we'll do an operational analysis to see what access points there are on Maguire, if we can right decel lane, but Maguire's right-of-way width is at its maximum. This property not only gave the right-of-way for all of Tommen, but it also gave half of Maguire. So I didn't point out the turn lanes, the off-site improvements, and there's also a potential that this will have to be signalized in the future. they are also paying what's called a proportionate share. The signal's about 400,000 now, 350, 400, 425. They're gonna pay what their proportionate share is, they're gonna pay that in. So as a signal is warranted, we will have some money towards a signal based off theirs.
That's good. I'm glad to hear all of that. All right, are there any other questions or?
Mr. Rummer, are there any remaining any staff comments that remain unresolved?
Yeah, there's a little, just some few staff comments. Staff is comfortable taking it forward. Working with the engineer, we expect all of the comments to be taken out. Before now in City Commission, for full disclosure, we have some answers we need to provide to this adjacent property owner, so they will dedicate the right-of-way and also provide funding for the extension of the turn lanes. So we're still working, and we're probably gonna have a meeting between that property owner and this applicant before the City Commission, but otherwise, everything's looking good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, with that, we will close the public hearing and we'll ask for a motion. One motion is necessary, so.
Madam Chairman, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the primary final site and subdivision plan for Inspiration Town Center PUD, project LS-2018-009.
And I second the motion.
That's it.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, nay? All right, thank you, it passes. Thank you very much. And so now we're going back to All-American Barricades, or?
Yes, to make an interesting meeting even more interesting, no one from that project is here.
Okay,
So if the desire of this commission to continue it or hear the case and just move it forward, it's up to you guys. So, I'm prepared to give a presentation. No one's here in the audience to, I don't think, with regards to this, so we can hear it. If you have any questions and want to stop, we can stop it. I've got one response from an engineer saying he's not going to be here.
okay,
So that's what you've been seeing. I've been feverishly texting saying, where are you?
yeah.
As they were late, they responded that they were running late, so.
This is the project that's already out of the ground, that's adjacent to the,
It's not out of the ground.
it's not?
No.
Okay. I saw another facility growing up there next to the two lines along East Crown Point Road.
Yes.
This is in addition to that?
This is a separate project, but right adjacent to it,
Okay.
so.
Okay, well,
If you
no one
have,
has,
you're gonna have any questions or comments off from the first view, then, but otherwise, I'm prepared to give a presentation.
yeah, if there's no objection from other members of the board, I say we move forward, allow staff to do a
No, I agree.
presentation
Okay.
That's a good decision.
and go forward.
All right,
So, Mr. Rummer, if you
This
would.
is the All-American Barricade Building. It's at 901 East Crown Point Road. It's the plan unit development for this project was approved earlier this year. You say, what do you mean by all these PUDs? The land that's kind of left, like you can see this is thin and deep. Traditional zoning requirements don't always make the site conducive for development that you want, but you try to look at how you can accommodate what they're proposing. So it didn't show up as well. The GIS system we had did not show these buildings, so I used the property appraiser, and it highlights it in red, but it's this parcel which is under discussion. This is the park at 429, of which this is about a little over 600,000 square feet of light industrial. How it's going to develop out is a little bit different than the full development pattern. We do have these two large buildings. They're about 350,000 in total. This whole building right here is taken up with city furniture,
Yeah.
of which there's a showroom, about 80,000 square foot showroom, and then the rest is their warehouse. The building up front has a couple of different users in it, from a Lowe's distribution to a rubber floor mat company. This parcel down on the south, which has not begun construction of the building, was purchased by a construction company, and they are gonna build two 50,000 square foot office buildings. So instead of having light industrial, this will be office. And then this building, which was approved at about 60,000, it's come in at half the size, and it's a digital sign company. All that to say, this is the East Crown Point Road. The city of Winter Garden is on the west side of the road. East Crown Point Road from Fuller's Cross, just past Fuller's Cross, all the way down to Crown Point Crossroad is under the jurisdiction of Orange County. South of Crown Point Crossroad to Plant Street is under the jurisdiction and maintenance of City of Winter Garden. The property you see was in the county. We annexed it into the city, gave it a plan unit development for light industrial flex office. It was, when we annexed it in, it was had a mobile home, and it was sort of operating as a tree nursery and storage of fine front yard art. The PUD approved it's a light industrial flex office building. So what does that mean? That means that the building will have a number of units, which can be individual or you can combine them. Typically, there's a garage door for little warehouse storage, and you typically have a small 10 by 20 office. The rest is storage area, or you can have it all office. It'll have a number of uses over time. The building, this is not the best architectural rendering, as a higher parapet, does not face East Crown Point Road. And what's different from the park at 429, these buildings were built so dock height, so when a semi backs up, they're in line with the floor and they can unload their car. This building is not designed that way. It is ground level. So what it has is these garage doors. Then you have a front door, kind of office area with windows. Roll up the garage, maybe store a vehicle or get your supplies, shut it, and that's your business. And that's how you operate out of. A lot of companies that do flooring or screens and stuff like that, this is the perfect type of setup for them. So what it does, it provides in total, did I ever find the staff report for this one? This is a preliminary final site plan. So this is construction documents. The parcel size is 2.4 acres, and it will have about a 28,000 square foot warehouse building, which can be office and warehouse. It's going to be divided up to 12 units. The access is via, you have the entrance point onto East Crown Point Road. You have parking, you have your handicap parking, stormwater retention. It's all, and the back of the building is about 10 feet off the rear line. So this building, you're not able to drive around it like you are at the park at 429. You don't drive around the building. So that's why you have the doors on the front. So typically in a newer development like Park at 429, we would not have allowed any of those garage doors to be seen from the road. This site, the way that the property runs and the way it functions, you could not drive around it, you could not have rear loading. The front of the building, it's gonna be beefed up better than this. When you're looking at it, the corner will look like an office, it'll have architectural detail. They're dedicating some right-of-way, 10 foot of right-of-way up front. And how this parcel became developable was the park at 429 ran sewer from Palm Drive down here, and we had them run it through the property and stub it out at the north. By providing that water and sewer stub out, guess what? Now you can develop this parcel because you don't have to run a quarter of a mile and a lot of money in order to reach it. They will in turn run water and sewer and stub it out on this line. These properties to the north, this is a church. Don't know if it'll ever come. If they ever redevelop and annex in the city, we can, or if the city takes on the project, we can continue running that utility service around. East Crown Point Road is the utility service line with Winter Garden and Ocoee. They have the west side, we have the east side. So we're gonna be able to expand our utility service area. One final note, they do have with their pond, the requirement and approval from the property owner, from the state. They do have a little, not a cursor, a little pop-off that goes into the pond to the rear. And kind of what that does, this water already drained that way, so you have the right to keep the same amount of water and volume. So they treat it, and it kind of pops off, and it goes through the property to the rear's drainage. So we're able to make all of this development work.
I got a question.
Yes. This is gonna be an engineered question. I know it's-
The dumpster is awfully close to that retention pond, and we're dealing with companies that work with chemicals,
Yeah.
paints.
Well, it's, remember, the dumpster is enclosed by a CMU wall.
Correct.
And
But it still has the weep holes, so anything that falls out of that dumpster is gonna weep right through those holes and go right into the retention pond.
our detail doesn't have weep
You don't have
holes
weep
in them.
holes?
No. No, in fact, they landscape around it. We don't do weep holes. It'll drain out the front, so when they wash it out and any chemicals, it'll go right into the catch system here that separates, but it does not go into the ground. It's full CMU on a pad. And you've gotta, this is, our trucks will have to come in here, not our trucks, this is a franchise. But they pull in, pick it up, go around, turn around. So we've gotta position it where they can pull in, so.
Any other questions?
So this is just showing this will be a little, the jobs, the job creation in the city. This is a benefit, a positive, things are looking good.
Okay. All right, well, at this point, this is a public hearing, and I don't see any public here to address. So at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the preliminary and final large-scale site plan for project LS 2018-13.
Go ahead.
I was gonna make that motion to approve the preliminary and final site plan for 901 East Crown Point Road Warehouse, AKA All-American Barricades, project number LS-2018-013.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Where are we? Capital improvements element.
Yes, this one's neat. This is exciting. So what you have before you, again, like Rumor City Planner, is as keepers of the comprehensive plan has the capital improvement element. And within the capital improvement element in the comprehensive plan, it talks about level of service for police, fire, recreation, garbage, schools, transportation. And as an attachment, in what you will find in every city or county's capital improvement element is a 5-year capital improvement plan. Now, and so what this does is a schedule of projects the city's gonna do in the next 5 years, which is gonna promote the vision the city has for the next 20 years. A little side note, in 2011, the legislature passed a rule that said the capital improvement plan you have to show that you have the money in the bank, and you have to construct the projects you have in years 1, 2, and 3. Year 4 and 5 is pie in the sky, or you're gonna partially fund projects. What we're doing here is we're updating, you have to every year update the 5-year scheduled capital improvements. But going back to 2011, the state said you have to be financially feasible for the first 3 years. So that made you put a lot of projects in year 4 and 5. That was revoked. But when they changed that law, they also said you no longer have to update your capital improvement element each year by doing a large-scale text submittal. You can just simply adopt an ordinance referencing the capital improvements element. So we are bringing forward an ordinance that says, look at our capital improvement element, you'll see the most up-to-date 5-year CIP. The city does their capital improvement program a little bit different. Every finance department and jurisdictions do it different. Sometimes it's a capital improvement if it's more than $4,000 being spent. In this list, you're gonna see a lot of things that aren't necessarily capital improvement that's gonna improve a fire service or police service or a road. You're gonna find a lot of little things, a pump for a lift station, but it all goes into providing upkeep for the city and what we're planning on in the future. Another interesting item to note is this capital improvement plan is approved by the city commission and adopted in the budget. And then we take that plan and amend our capital improvement element. So you've got a budget there that you only have a say during the budget process in the city commission.
Yeah.
We can't change or add anything at this point. You can make suggestions, but really the time to do that is during the budget process and workshop. So I'm asking you to recommend approval to transmit this per Florida statute.
And that would include recommending approval of all of the figures that we see here. Is that
I
correct?
mean, $60,000 for a tennis court that nobody uses.
Don't have an answer?
Your question, well, the tennis courts is, the level of service for recreation is amount of recreation space per number of residents, not the type of facilities.
Right. I'm just saying, I've
So
been
your
over
comment
there,
would be, we
nobody
need to
uses that
build
tennis
more
court.
parks.
Yeah.
We need to build more parks, not, we don't agree with the,
I'm just throwing that out
I
as
know.
an example there.
So, but back to the previous question, is it an adoption of the figures as well, or is it just the projects in general?
the document itself,
The whole
the whole
document?
document.
Kit and caboodle.
A year or so ago, the Planning and Zoning Commission had some members speaking emphatically about the need for a new fire station. Does this Northwest Fire Station respond to those comments?
Yes.
Thank you. And has the site been found?
Yes, if you've been paying attention to the commission meetings, there is a site up in the northwest that a developer owns, has purchased. They have approval to build a indoor storage facility, and they've made available a lot for a future fire station and a program to be able to have that fire station constructed that the city commission's still hearing about. So I can't go into all the detail. I don't know all the detail.
Understand. I just was trying to,
Yes.
something clawed its way out of my memory, and,
yes.
okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions, or are we ready to close the,
Public hearing?
or open, ask for public comment, I guess? Well, there are no citizens here to give public comments, and so at this point, we'll close the public hearing. And are there any, is there a motion ready?
Madam Chairman, I'll move that the Planning and Zoning Commission, acting as the local planning agency, recommend adopting an ordinance amending the capital improvements element of the City of Ocoee Comprehensive Plan. Includes the addition of fiscal years 2018/2019 through fiscal year 2022/2023 capital improvements program.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Tennis courts involved and everything.
Yeah, tennis courts and all.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. The motion passes. Okay, now we are at project status update. I think that's where we are.
Yes.
Did I miss anything? No. Okay, yes.
You'll see that Blueford Avenue is open for access. The next step is Duke is currently running the facilities to underground the electric power lines along Blueford Avenue. That work is being done. You're seeing them dig holes. That's what they're doing. And then we're gonna put in the street lights when they're done that, and the final trees. And Blueford Avenue will be complete. The next phase of the downtown is the park behind us is out for bid to do construction of the improvements of the park, which is a change of how it looks and a change of how the lakefront operates. The plans for City Hall, a contractor and architect has been hired to do the design build of the City Hall. And the Oakland Avenue street plans are at 60%. We'll be reviewing 60% plans this week. Taylor Kissimmee is 30%, and then we've just, that's under a different consultant. And then the pond park, it's a park that acts as a pond, the citywide, in the downtown to provide stormwater, is the consultant is doing the background work to provide us a first blush rendering and of what where it's gonna be located, how it's gonna look. With other, outside of the downtown, of course, the Lakeshore Center you can see is hurriedly getting finished. You'll see some properties along 50 that are clearing. We're doing a clear and grub permit. That's where they can mow, limb, take out some non-trees that we have in our code that they need to protect. There's another site along the city center that's an office building, but one of the items is on McGuire behind the hotel. They were having an issue with homeless camped out there and using the lobby and the pool and all that. So we've asked the property owner as a developer to clear and grub it. Let's clean it up, get it looking good, maintain it. And we've got several of those parcels. You'll see another one off Franklin Street by the 429 on the south side. They've begun to mow it now. It's just to make it look better, keep people from hiding and pouring junk out there. It's not necessarily a development happening. They're just cleaning the lot. The work at Sunbelt Rental is finished. The work on Highway 50 and McGuire is ongoing. That's a 14,000 square foot total retail, two buildings, and they're doing some other clearing and getting ready for future development, but nothing else is approved at this time. With that, I'll entertain if you have any questions on what's going on in your neck of the woods.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Rowe?
On Robertson Road, at the intersection of Windermere Road,
Yes.
all of that intersection work that has been going on. At one point, I thought I had heard a report that was going to be a traffic circle, a roundabout.
Roundabout, yes.
It
It's
is?
supposed to be. Yes.
Okay.
I haven't been by there. Is it not looking like one?
Well, I keep looking for something with a curve.
Okay. I'll have to go down there and look. Yeah, no, it's supposed to be a roundabout. Yeah, that's interesting.
But that is still the
They
plan.
might be building a bypass lane,
Okay.
you know, for right now or something.
It looked like
That's
they were
interesting.
doing a lot of turn lanes,
Okay.
which will be welcome, but okay, it is still a
It's
traffic.
a City of Winter Garden, Orange County project, yes, for a roundabout there.
Thank you.
All right. With that, I think that we have completed our meeting for tonight, for
Do we
this
have a
month.
December meeting?
Yes, I think we do.
have 3 projects that if we can get them on the agenda, we will. It's Arden Park, it's 3 phases in Arden Park. They're trying to just get their approvals ahead of time, so it's not pressing. They're not gonna develop those phases right away. So we're gonna see where we are. I'm not 100% certain.
Thank you.
All right. Well, with that, unless there's any objection or any further business, I guess we can adjourn. Thank you.